Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Hi, and welcome back to Realistic Sustainability. I am Mike, and this is another one of those short episodes, or I've been told that my short episodes haven't been short enough. I guess the last one was like 18 minutes. But to be fair, I really like talking about my Hawaiian experience. So this week, here we are, the Hawaiian experience, day 4. And yes, I'm trying to record in video. You may not get to see this one because this week, at some point, we're going to redo the office and try to make it more accommodating because from my understanding, I'm supposed to be doing videos. Didn't know that. So if we make videos, we can put them in more than one format. You may see some more stuff going out there. Right now, let's talk about Hawaii. Day 4 was actually one of my favorite days. This was one of those days where we didn't necessarily have like a great plan, but we had Jamison and her Google Earth skills. She was constantly looking for new places for us to go. And I know I'm going to butcher these when I say them. And I don't mean to because I would love to spend more time in Hawaii and get all the pronunciations correct, but I'm probably going to do a pretty poor job here. We started off in, let's see, how do I say that? Hanawananua and the Keliki Cove. Ooh, that was tough. But that's where we found tide pools. It's the first time I've ever been somewhere where when the ocean pours over the lava rock, it creates these little pools all over the place. And each one of those pools had different life. It was kind of cool. At first, I didn't necessarily notice. It just looked like, there might be some fish that got stuck here. But it wasn't just fish. There were sea cucumbers, which I've never seen before, especially in Michigan, along with sea anemones and other wildlife or ocean life in those pools. And then the more I looked, it seemed like the diversity for each of those pools were different. I could have sat there all day. Lots of jokes were being said about how brave I was getting close to the water. And I was getting very close to the water. And if you watch some of the videos on my Facebook, you can hear my friend Nicole as the water rushes around me as I'm standing on a rock. You can hear her comforting me by going, "You're okay. You're okay." I kind of figured I was. I picked the dry spot to stand, but you never really know. We're right up on the coast. The waves are hitting hard, and it's really just filling in over the lava rock, leaving these pools. I seriously could have sat there for hours, well beyond what we did, looking through each and every one of those tide pools, because some completely barren, some chucked full of life. It just seemed to be different every time I looked into another space. And every once in a while, I could look under lava rock and see a whole nother group of creatures. The fish are like what we see in our stores here. They call it tropical fish. And we go in there and we, purchase this or that. But that's the same things. Those cichlids and different kinds of species of fish are all just in those pools. I'm sure for a lot of people that's normal. For me, it was kind of neat. So we started there, and that in itself could have been a perfect day. On top of the fact that there's people out there surfing and there's other things to watch. But for me, climbing around in that lava, which, by the way, wore my legs out, all those uneven surfaces, after a while, a big guy like me has a hard time moving through them. I kept worrying about twisting an ankle and getting stuck out there, but it was just wonderful. I could sit out there, watch the waves, or wander in and look in the tide pools. Excellent place. From there, we kept talking about wanting to find a beach. Now, Mike and I, we're not big beach guys, but the girls are. So Jamie had found the Kawalaki Beach Park where we watched some more surfers, but there was a national historical park there, which also had some really cool things. It's like some of the carvings and buildings and different old historical Hawaiian artifacts were there. We got to walk around. There was individuals who were weaving helmets and creating different things in older methods. There was a lot of carvings, like tikis, and then old canoes and things of that to see. It really was kind of cool. One of the weird things we saw there is there was this massive spider who had built this huge web. If you're on my Facebook, you see it. Yes, I took multiple photos of this spider because it was just huge and just kind of hanging out with everybody. Not the only thing I took pictures of there, but it definitely got my attention. Second was all the little green lizards. One of these days, I'm going to look them up. I'm sure they're like geckos or something, but they're green with these orange spots. They're everywhere. And that was where I first saw a lot of them. So I'm running around taking pictures of these lizards like a child, and everybody's giggling and having a good time. But that was a nice place too. Beautiful off the coast. You could sit there and watch the waves. We never actually even went to the regular beach. We sat there the whole time. Really enjoyed it. Then it was time to eat. One of the things that we missed was the first time Jamie and I went, there was a place called Strawberries, and it was delicious. And as we looked it up, it doesn't exist anymore. It didn't make it past COVID. But while looking for it, we found a place called Grinds with a Z. That's a seafood place where I'm sure for the locals, it's like kind of normal, but they quite literally go get fish, come in, and then when it's gone, it's gone. Couple different kinds of way that you can order it, planko, or you can get beer batter, stuff like that. So it's really mostly fried. But boy, you could tell that the fish was not store-bought fish. It was excellent. Meanwhile, for the ambiance, you're sitting back near the jungle and you're surrounded by chickens. There is chickens and roosters wandering all around the seating area. Again, if you're on our Facebook or my Facebook, you'll see the pictures. There's quite literally chickens just sitting with us while we eat, wandering around, keeping the floor clean. Mainly because it's primarily outside. Like I said, you're sitting on kind of a porch in the middle of a jungle, but still kind of cool. And we'd, make some jokes about the chickens staring at us while we're eating and this and that, but it really was excellent food at a reasonable price. And it was kind of fun sitting there with all the birds around keeping an eye on us. It's almost like they were the bouncers. Anyways, I'm going to move on. I'm going to try and keep the shorts short, because if not, then they're not shorts anymore. From that point, we really didn't know exactly what to do next. I knew that we were having a hard time seeing the stars. Most of the time we were there, it was cloudy. And you at nighttime, you really couldn't get a great look at the stars. We talked about paying for one of those rides to the top of the mountain and sitting up there for a few hours and seeing the universe in the clearest method. But with all these clouds, one of the things that those trips say on there is that they do not guarantee being able to see the stars. Well, the weather wasn't looking great, and you don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to see something and not see it. So we decided to skip it and just see if there was ways for us to get different places to be able to see the stars clearly. Well, we started up on what would be the northwest side of the island. That was where Jamie and I had gone to a seafood bar and grill in the past, and that's where I had grouper for the first time, and it was quite good. That's where all the docks are, slightly more industrialist in that corner. The restaurant was a great place, and we decided, well, based on the time that we were there and the time that we'd be coming back down a mountain, we could stop at that restaurant. So what we decided to do is in that Kualahi area, we sat and just watched the sunset. I got to tell you, one of my favorite things to do in Hawaii is pick a coast and watch the sunset. It goes a lot faster than you think, but it is one of the coolest, most relaxing things that you'll ever experience. We explored up and down the coastlines looking for different shaped rocks and different things that we could explore in that time. But then we stopped, sat on a fallen tree, and just watched the sunset. That in itself, absolutely worth it. It is so nice. But then again, it gets very dark. And our goal was to go up the northern mountain. That mountain, last time I went, I'm not going to call it treacherous, but it was close. Not a lot of guardrails, very, very dark. Not a lot of bright lines on the roads, not a lot of reflectors. You just had to be very careful. And just like any place on the planet, people who live there understand those roads and want to go faster than people who aren't from there. And I'm not from there. Well, we get headed up there and the roads are nicer. They seem to be slightly wider. The paint was new. It made it a much easier drive to get up to a much higher elevation. We took some pictures while we were up there. You really couldn't see the stars still. That didn't take us above the cloud lines like the volcano does, or where I believe it's a volcano where the observatory is. That goes so much higher. So my plan to get us to a high altitude happened, but not high enough. What we did get to see was Kona down below us with all the lights that come with Kona, the traffic, because there's only so many roads. So it just kind of just becomes cars snaking down a single road in the dark. And some really cool photos were taken from up there. You had to be careful. Again, you can fall down the hill. At least where we stopped, it was just a hill. We would have fell into someone's backyard, probably safely. But sometimes you're just on the edge of a cliff. So we sat there with the lights off and took pictures with our phones of the city. That was pretty cool. Coming back down took us right down to our restaurant. We stopped at the same seafood bar and grill that Jamie and I went to 4 years prior. Didn't get the same food, but it was still delicious. I don't know how restaurants do that. You know, they go through cooks. The chances are it is not the same people sitting there cooking. Someone's doing some quality control because the good places are good and they're still good to this day. It was, again, an amazing trip. We had a blast. That was one of those days that was just about nature, just about being connected to the earth, being there, smelling the ocean, having the fresh air, the calmness around you, and just enjoying the fact that you were there. And it was a nice, calm day after our consistent, nonstop hiking day of the volcano, because many of us were still a little tired. That night, we got back to the hotel, and all we could do was talk about all the experience we had at Captain Cook. That was amazing. From seeing the lights elevated above to wandering from tide pool to tide pool, looking at completely different ecosystems. That was a day of exploration. That was a day of fun. Most of those things weren't even on the map except for the National Historical Park. That's pretty cool. And that is why someday I just want to wander around Hawaii and just see what I can find, because day 4 was the day that we realized didn't matter where we go, we're going to find something fun. Hope you liked this episode. Just trying to keep them short because it is supposed to be a short. I appreciate you listening. Remember, if you know someone who's going to Hawaii or wants to go to Hawaii, or just someone you think will enjoy this episode, share it with them or post it on social media. As of late, more and more of you are doing that, and we do appreciate it. If you don't already follow the show, click the follow. You don't have to listen to every show. It just helps us that you're connected to our show and that if you want to, we're there. And again, remember, all we're trying to do when it comes to sustainability, and I know these shows are not necessarily doing a whole lot of talking about sustainability, but I think nature is a big part of it. And I hope that I get to explore more and more throughout the next few years and share it with all of you, because us being connected with nature helps tremendously with sustainability. So again, thank you so much for listening. Just trying to get a little bit better. Little bit, big bit. Thanks for listening. I'm Mike, and we'll talk to you soon.